What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and today, that's right, your eyes don't deceive you, buddy. They're back. They're back in full swing. If you guys are new here, which most likely you probably are, because we used to do these back when I had like 10,000 subscribers, and now we're at 70K. I used to do something called Good, Bad, and Uglies. So the exact way that it works is, first I go over everything that you need to know. Then I go over how it does in certain forms of motorsports or just what the community does with the car in general. Then I go over the good, bad, and ugly. The good is just things that are just good about the car. You can't deny they're good things. Bad are things that are kind of like take it or leave it. If it affects you, then, stay away from the car. If you don't care, then you can still get the car. And ugly are problems with the car that nobody can deny are issues with the car. Usually most cars don't have a lot of uglies, 2 or 3 at most. Some cars will get like 5, like the RX-8 for example, but most cars don't get anywhere near that range. And the majority of the points that I want to discuss are in the good and the bad spots, which is usually pretty good. And then at the end, I give my final thoughts on whether or not I think you should get the car depending on your current situation. We are going to be revisiting all the cars I did 2 years ago as well, back to doing good, bad, and uglies with those again, because like I said, I feel like I didn't know as much as I do now back then, so we're going to revisit them. Long intro, I'm very sorry, but let's go right into the video of the good, the bad, and ugly on the E39 BMW. So the first thing we got to discuss is everything that you actually need to know about the car before we get into the good, bad, and ugly parts of it. First up is the years made and the generation of the car. The car was built from the years 1996 to 2003, and it is the 4th generation of the BMW 5 Series line. Next up is the wonderful trim levels, the part that everybody came here for. Bear with me because it's a BMW, so of course they have a ton of them. First up is the 520i, which is a 2-liter inline 6, makes 150 horsepower. Next is the 523i, 2.5-liter inline 6, 170 horsepower. Next is the 525i, 2.5-liter inline 6 again, this time with 192 horsepower. Next is the 528i, 2.8-liter inline 6, with only 1 more horsepower, 193. Then it's the 530i, the 3-liter inline 6, making 231 horsepower, very good. And then it's the 535i, which is a 3.5-liter V8, making 239 horsepower. Then it's the 540i, which is a 4.4-liter V8, making 286 horsepower. And finally, it's the M5, which is a 4.9-liter V8, making 400 horsepower, which at the time that this car was built, made it the fastest sedan in the world. Pretty much in terms of the way that this car works, higher the number for the trim level, the better for performance. The lower the number for the trim level, the better reliability. Next up is the body styles. This car only came in 2, a 4-door sedan or a 5-door station wagon. Next is the drivetrains. Rear-wheel drive is standard, all-wheel drive on X-Drive models if you need that kind of stuff, but that's it. No front-wheel drive. And then the transmissions. Yes, the car is offered in both automatic or manual. Bingo bango. Prices. They range from anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 depending on model and condition for any of the base models. However, the M5s obviously cost significantly more. If you want a nice M5, you're looking at upwards of $20,000. Reliability and the gas mileage. Very decent reliability-wise, considering it's a BMW, but it also, once again, depends on the trim level. Inline motors are better than the V motors, so like I said, if you're going for strictly reliability and gas mileage, get a lower trim level. If you're going for performance, get a higher trim level. It also depends on the trim level for the gas mileage, but the 528i, which is pretty much right in the middle, gets a 21 combined, which is just very average. Nothing really to say about that. Now let's get into the motorsports side of things. What people in the car community usually do with these cars when they buy them, where they take them. What path do they go down? Well, we're going to be using for this experiment every trim level besides the M5, since the M5 can pretty much just do it all anyways, and you really don't have to mind. If you buy an M5 and you want to do any sort of racing or anything like that, you most likely can do it. So we're going to use all the other ones besides that one. For drifting, the car is not used a lot. The diff in the car, the rear differential, is just not built for it. It's glass. It likes to blow up, so they don't drift these cars that much. For rally and off-road purposes, a surprising amount of uses, still not used a lot, and it's not the best option for rally, but you would be surprised at the amount of people that use an E39 for rally racing. Next up is the street racing. This is where it really shines. It has the comfort and speed needed to be a good street car. These cars don't handle that great, and so luckily on the streets, you don't really need good handling, just straight line performance, which is what's really good in these wonderful E39s. Next up is the track racing. It's definitely an underrated track car in my opinion. Yes, it's a little bit heavy, but it gets the job done with some easy weight reduction and stiffer suspension. So if you are going the track racing, circuit racing route, I think it's a good option. There is some people that like to take them on the track as well. They're just very average for that. Now we're going into the good, bad, and uglies. However, I did forget to mention stance or show cars if you are going that route and you just want to build a nice looking car for the E39. Obviously, that's completely up to personal opinion. So if you like the looks of it, you like the looks of it. But anyway, for the good, like I said before, I'm going to go over it really quick again. The good are things that are just great about the car and you cannot deny are good things about the car. First up, the space. The space for a sedan is nice, but the wagon has even more. So if you really need space, this thing is a long boy. It can take a lot of snowboards. Next is the smaller trim levels like the 528i, 530i, 525i. Things like that are very reliable cars, especially for a BMW, especially for what you're getting with the car in terms of comfort. Next is underrated as hell, meaning that you're going to get a lot of looks from actual car enthusiasts, which is a big difference. You know, if you know, you know. You know, getting looks from actual car guys is way better than just getting looks from some random dude on the right side of the street. Next is it's very cheap to buy, even the more expensive options. Doesn't matter what one you're going for, it's going to be pretty cheap for what it is. Next is it's comfortable as hell to drive, even for tall people. I'm 6 foot. BMWs usually have plenty of space for me, and I can't imagine that an E39 is going to have less space considering it's a bigger car than the ones I've been in. Next is its performance, especially for its time, is insanely good for a big sedan. I already told you before, the M5 was the fastest sedan of all time when it came out, and even the trim levels are really good performance-wise, so that's a big plus. Next is there's so many options depending on what you need. I mean, you got all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive, manual and automatic, wagon and sedan. You got whatever you could possibly need, whatever combination. You want literally just the definition of a daily driver and you need space, practicality, and ease of use. Okay, then you get an all-wheel drive automatic wagon. You want the most fun version that you can get while just having like a big project car, then you get the rear-wheel drive manual sedan. It's up to you completely, and I like that a lot about it. Next is it has that wonderful BMW Beamer Boy clout. Gotta love it. Next is the cup holders are actually nice. In all my good, bad, and uglies, I used to bring up the cup holders in every car, and usually they failed the cup holder test. This one does pretty good, apparently. Next is some can be registered as a classic car. They're at that age. Pretty soon, all of them are going to be able to be classics, which are pretty nice. And finally, for the good, is the M5 was the fastest damn sedan in the world. I'm just going to mention that again because it's so cool. Okay, now for the bad, and I want to make it very clear before we get into the bad that these are not things that are actually bad. It's just a nice, fun title, so that's why I use the good, bad, and ugly. But these are kind of things that are just in the middle. Once again, it depends on the kind of person you are, if this affects you or not. I always put sound clips here in the bad, so here's a sound of the V8, and I'll let you decide where it belongs on the good, bad, and ugly scale. Keep in mind, if you get an inline 6, it's not going to sound like this. Next is the gas mileage. It's just average, but in bigger trim levels, it is bad. For V8s, obviously, it's not good gas mileage, but if you get an inline 6, it's going to be all right. Next is the reliability on the V8 motors is just piss poor. What did you expect? It's a V8 German car. I mean, come on now. Next is the designs are just a little bit boring in my personal opinion, but once again, that is personal preference. If you like it, good. If you don't, you're on my side. Next is the BMW community can be very, very toxic. It's kind of a take it or leave it kind of thing. You get the more successful BMW owners, they're usually nice guys. If you get the bottom of the barrel BMW guys, they're just jerks for some reason. I don't know why, but they are. Next is the car is quite old now, so don't expect to have a mint condition car that looks like it just rolled off the line and isn't going to break at all. You need to expect that the car is going to have some issues, which leads me into my next bad point. Fixing it is a pain since it is a German car. Now, some people are more inclined to work on German cars, so they know what they're doing and it's not going to be that big of an issue. Most people aren't like that though, so just be careful that way. Next is the window regulators like to break. I mean, if you care about that, there it is. Next is most of them haven't been taken care of. A lot of these cheap under $5,000 cars, when you go to look at them, you really got to look at them because the previous owner didn't take care of the thing at all, and there are so many hidden little problems that the car's going to have, and it's no different with this car. And finally, for the bad is faster models like to spin out, especially if you buy a rear-wheel drive one, so be careful if you're new to driving. But now we're finally into the ugly, which, like I said before, are just problems with the car. If you don't think they're problems with the car, you need to look up what is a problem with a car, okay? First up is the biggest problem is without a doubt with the E39, the reliability. However, in particular, the cooling system, like the thermostat, the water pump, things like that, even the radiator sometimes, they like to go out quite often. Obviously, it's not fun to change a water pump, but a thermostat isn't a huge deal, but you really don't want to take that gamble sometimes. Just if you don't know what you're doing, that's going to be a project. Another big problem in these cars is they leak more than the friggin' a high school girl finding out that their crush went to prom without them. The oil valve cover, power steering lines, and a bunch of other things, they just spit fluids. There's everywhere that they go. It could be even more of an issue considering its age as well, so be careful there. This is talking about the stock cars when they rolled off the line and they were already having leaking issues. Nowadays, they're 20 years old, so those leak issues are going to be even more prominent. And finally, for the ugly, like I said, there's only 3. It's a small, not a bad car at all, so there's only 3 of them. But finally, for the ugly, and this is a bigger problem than you think, the LCD display will randomly go out, meaning that little thing in the center of your dash there, tells you your mileage and all that stuff, that goes out. Computers are expensive, and fixing them is even more expensive. You also need this display to see things like your mileage, so it's a big pain. If this is already out when you get the car, run away. Run away. But now for my final thoughts. Things that I think, if you are looking for a certain type of car, what I think about whether or not you should buy it. First up is people that are looking for literally just a daily driver and have no interest in having a cool car whatsoever. I think there are a lot of better options out there for a daily. If you just need to get from point A to point B and you don't care at all how fun and cool it is getting there, buy a Camry, buy a Prius, buy a Civic. Don't buy this. Next up is a car guy daily. Yes, I think these are massively different. A car guy is not going to buy a daily that's super boring. A car guy is going to buy a daily that has some fun aspects to it and then just tell the wife that it's significantly more reliable than it actually is. If you are in that scenario, I think this is a great option. If you accept that the car is going to run into issues before buying it, then you can be prepared and do maintenance required, or at least teach yourself how to do maintenance required to stop that from happening. They also can be a blast while looking good, and they have tons of options for whatever you need, and so absolutely, for a car guy, yes. Now for the Sunday cruiser. I personally think there are a lot of better options for strictly a Sunday cruiser. It's not a bad option, but even something like an E36 or an E46, I would say is just better for you. You need something that scratches all the itches every time that you take it out, and I just don't really know if that's the E39. It scratches some of the itches, like straight line speed, but there are other things that I don't personally think that it would excel in, when you could absolutely get a car that can do all those things. Like I said, the E36 or E46. Finally, for a race car or a project car, somebody that just literally just wants to make the funnest car, doesn't care if it takes a month to drive the thing, yes, definitely. I cannot stress enough how much of a good deal these cars are right now. Under $5,000 for any BMW is pretty good, but for a car that's like this, so cool, this is such a good idea. And thrashing them around is most likely fun as hell. They make good power, have lots of mods, and can be incredible at racing if you put enough time and effort into them. So yeah, overall, I would give this bad boy, I'm not going to do this in every video, but I'm just doing it right now. I would give this bad boy a good 7 out of 10. I like BMWs a lot. I don't think it's the best BMW out there, but I think it's a damn good one. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of today's Good, Bad, and Ugly on the wonderful BMW E39 5 Series. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Let me know what other cars you'd like to see me do the Good, Bad, and Uglies on. I am completely restarting this series, like I said, so we are going to be revisiting all of the cars that we've done before in the past as well. So if you want to see one of the ones that I've already done, comment it down below and I will do it. I just want to make that very clear because, like I said, before in the past, I didn't know as much as I do now, so it's going to be a lot better. Also, my scripts are just so much better nowadays. It's just a lot of big bonuses doing it now instead of back then. So I'm happy to get the series back up. I hope a lot of you guys are. I know a lot of you guys from like the 10,000 subscriber days where are still to this day will ask for the Good, Bad, and Uglies to come back. So they're back. Let me know what other cars you'd like to see me do one on. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.